Welcome back. Glad to have you here today. Welcome back. Trying to give you a little jingle there. Welcome back, my friend. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Onto Purpose Over a Paycheck podcast. I am Troy. I am the guy giving you the narrative story of my entire process of leaving my $85,000 job, career that I've been doing for over 2 decades, and moving into my purpose and not worrying about a secure paycheck because I'm creating the life that I deserve, right? Exactly. That's what this whole thing is about. That's what this whole podcast is talking about, and that's what I'm here to share with you. All right. Today's episode is called Holding More Without Hardening. But before I begin with the episode, please make sure that you are following. Make sure you are leaving a rating or comments or questions that you may have. Share this out with family and friends. Invite other people to join us in this journey. I'm greatly appreciative. Not even does that make that sense. Let me rephrase that again. I am truly grateful and very appreciative that you are here with me. There, that sounded so much better. So much better than my other way. All right. So we're going to talk about holding more. When you're holding more without hardening, we're going to speak to a very quiet but important moment in our growth, right? This is all about the moment when your life begins to hold more. You begin to hold more responsibility, some more visibility, more decisions, and more expectations. And slowly, almost without noticing, something inside you starts to tighten. And it's not because you're failing, but it's because your expansion is changing how much more you are carrying. Okay? How much more you are carrying. What harden actually is, harden doesn't happen suddenly. It happens gradually. What does it look like? Well, hardening becomes more guarded, losing that softness, reducing the vulnerability, and then also staying emotionally braced. You're not becoming a cold person. What you're doing is your nervous system is trying to protect you as your life becomes bigger. When you make changes, your nervous system is going to be the center of focus because you can either attract large amounts of money or opportunities or amazing things into your life. And your nervous system is going to go through a change. It's going to adapt in how to accept it and roll with it. Because what happens is you've already been accustomed and so focused on your old self that you've built that safety and that security. Okay? But when you make this change, when you're going through this growth, you start to harden in certain areas. Now, when you start this whole hardening thing, it's not cruelty, it's survival. But survival is not where aligned expansion lives. Understand that. Growth begins to create this emotional armor. As your capacity increases, so does exposure. You begin to be seen more. You begin to be more relied on. There's more responsibility. There's going to be a higher impact of everyone you come in contact. And when all of that happens, it comes with more potential judgment. It comes with more relational complexity. It comes with more risk of disappointment, and there's going to be more internal pressure. Because your system says quietly, let's stay guarded. That will keep us safe. However, that's when the softness begins to disappear. Now, when we move into this hardening stage, what does it cost us? What does it cost us? Well, hardening can look like strength on the outside. We can look composed, we can look unbothered, we can look controlled. But internally, inside us, it creates emotional numbness, reduced joy, less creativity, and those shallow connections. You can hold more, but you start to fill less. And that is one of the greatest risks of expansion. You begin to gain capacity, but you lose the intimacy with yourself. So, why do many successful people feel isolated? So remember, we talked about in a couple episodes where our relationships begin to change because we're evolving, we're updating ourselves, things, our boundaries, friendships, connections will start to change. So many successful people will tend to feel isolated. This is rarely spoken about. Many people who grow significantly began to feel this emotional aloneness, hard to reach. They're less understood, and they have some type of disconnect from their own tenderness. Not because success isolates, but because hardening blocks connection. People can only meet you at the level you stay open. And when you choose to protect yourself, connections quietly fades. Now, the softness that you feel, it is not weakness. So we're going to talk about a real crucial reframing. Softness is not fragile. Softness is flexible. It's this emotional adaptability. It is the nervous system openness. It is the capacity to feel deeply without collapsing. And it's the ability to stay human while holding a power. Hardening may protect you in the short term, but softness is what allows you to hold more in a long term. So if you notice yourself becoming more guarded, you're not becoming distant. You're becoming responsible for more. And your system is trying to protect you. But again, protection doesn't require a closed heart. You can hold more and still stay kind. You can lead and still stay tender. You can expand and you can still stay human. Now, how do we hold more without closing? This works from the conscious expansion. What this looks like is regulation before reacting. It's the processing instead of suppressing. It is staying curious instead of getting defensive. And it's letting yourself feel even when you're strong. What this means is it's choosing these boundaries without walls, discernment without distrust, strength without rigidity. Balance is what creates a sustainable power. So, when we're letting support grow with responsibility, one of the reasons people harden is because they increase responsibility without increasing support. They tend to carry more alone, they process less, they ask for less, and they share less. And eventually the system closes to survive. As your life expands, your support must expand too. Strength does not mean isolation. It means a resourced capacity. You may ask yourself, how do I protect myself more? Reframe that question to how do I stay open while becoming stronger? When you ask that question changes everything. How do I stay open while becoming stronger? Because the goal of growth is not armor, it is resilience with humanity. It's resilience with humanity. That is what it's all about, friend. You're going to go through a lot. I like this episode because it really talks about when you make a shift, things start to shift. Understand that when you choose to do this, your world is shaping differently. It is shaping into the person you are becoming. Your world is a reflection. It is a mirror of who you are inside eternally. It never reflects the physical outside. It reflects who you are inside. When you move into a purpose over something that you've had security for such a long time, you're going to go through a lot. It's not going to be an overnight success unless you win the lotto. And we already know what those odds are of winning the lotto. So, just think about that. Keep that in your mind as you're working through stepping into your true calling and your purpose. All right? Think about that. All right, before you go, make sure you are following this podcast. Make sure you're leaving a rating. Make sure you are commenting or asking questions. All right? Just make sure you're with us. If something resonated with you in this episode, if it nudged you, if it kind of made you think like, man, I feel like there's more for me. Like there's something else. I'm missing a piece. There's a component. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that's a good sign. That's a good sign to have, because what it's telling you is you need to check out my Linktree. You need to check out my website. It's the Linktree website. Because on that, I have a collection of ebooks, journals, amazing identity shifting tools that are available for you immediately. Because you are a person who should naturally attract the life, peace, and abundance that you are ready for. And I've got the tools in my Linktree to help you with that. Everything that I've created is not about that motivation. And we've talked about that a couple of weeks ago in our podcast about motivation, what it really truly is. What it really is, it's about the transformation. It's about doing this work of moving from who I am to who I'm becoming and reshaping the world outside of me to fit the internal world that is me. That's what all my tools in there will do. So all you got to do is just go to Linktree/Troy Rivera. That's linktr.ee/Troy Rivera, my first and last name together, and check out what I have available for you. All right? Remember, you don't manifest what you want. You manifest who you are becoming. Okay. Something to remember. You don't have to harden to hold more. You just have to grow with care. All right, my friend. As I always say, talk to you soon.